Supermicro stock is up nearly 15% as I am recording. The main reason is Supermicro finally gave their full review by an independent special committee, and right now, based on what they found, there's nothing that Supermicro investors should be worried about. On today's episode, I want to take a closer look at what they have. They made a lot of new announcements. They also looked at a lot of different topics and shared a lot of great information. So let's take a closer look. But before we go any further, make sure to hit the thumbs up, make sure to hit the subscribe button, check out the pinned comment for a special offer at fool.com/Jose, and also a special link to my semiconductor earnings ebook.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for their subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
All right, so Supermicro right now, as I am recording, up roughly 15% on today. In the past month, the stock is up nearly 44%. And if you were able to pick up on the bottom, the stock is up nearly 100%. So obviously, if you have been a short-term investor here of Supermicro, you are very, very excited. Unfortunately, if you've been in Supermicro since the beginning of the year, we can see from the peak, the stock is still down roughly 68%. Yet year to date, the stock is up green and is up 31.4%. So at the end of the day, it's all very important in perspective of where the company is. Right now with the market cap of roughly $23 billion and a lot of this good news coming out, I want to say, well, I'm not an investor of Supermicro. I'm not neither a short-term, long-term holder. I believe this is bullish for the company right now and is sitting at a decent market cap because of all this uncertainty. So I'm not purchasing, but I can definitely see why others would purchase. And some might say, hey, Jose, why wouldn't you say this about a month ago when the stock was down in those 18s? And I actually did a video there and I mentioned here is the time, unfortunately, where you had to pick a side, where you believe if there was going to be more negative press coming out or more bullish press coming out for the company. But it was there was too many unknown variables. And what ends up happening is if you pick a side, you have the possibility of huge returns. If you don't pick a side, you sometimes want to see what uncertainties become certain and you start to kind of remove a lot of the unknown variables. But unfortunately, if you start to remove a lot of the unknown variables, you're also going to miss out on some of the gains. Now, here we can see, like I mentioned, right now the special committee supported by outside counsel and outside forensic accounting firm as well, finds no evidence of misconduct on the part of management or the board of directors, and that the audit committee acted independently in all these findings. Next, we also hear that there's no restatement of reported financials expected, which is also very bullish. And finally, the board adopts various recommendations that the special committee gave. We're going to look at them, but for example, they wanted to appoint a new chief accounting officer, they want to replace the CFO, and they want to add additional executives along with other measures to make sure this doesn't happen again. Now, all this started pretty much in kind of July of 2024, where Ernst & Young communicated to the audit committee about concerns of certain things. And because of this, the special committee was kind of created, and it was aided by a lot of independent parties as well. Now, the review was focusing on the following issues. The first issue was rehiring certain employees who resigned in 2018 after there was kind of that investigation in 2017 about revenue recognition. So that was the first thing. Hey, are these people being rehired so you can pre-practice some of those negative things that you might have done in 2017? The second thing they want to make sure is current sales and revenue recognition practices, particularly around quarter ends, as well as with respect to merchandise returns and warranties. Next, export control matters related to prevention of sales or diversions to restricted countries. We heard of a lot of Supermicro products kind of entering, not a lot, but some Supermicro products entering countries like Russia, maybe some in China, to see if the company knew about this, and then also other related party disclosures. They also mentioned that the special committee employed more than 50 attorneys and employed a team of forensic accounting specialists from Secretariat. So we can see there was a lot of outside parties to help eliminate that, hey, look, this is just something that internal people are looking at. The first thing was, like we mentioned, the rehiring of employees. And the company's decision to rehire certain individuals was the product of reasonable business judgment. But they did mention that the special committee found certain instances where the documentation, tracking, training, and instructions around appropriate guardrails for these rehired employees were inconsistent or vague. So that was not necessarily the worst thing, but there was definitely some room for improvement there. Now, in forms of revenue recognition and sales practice, based on a thorough review of 52 sales transactions from April 1st to June 30th, including 2 sales transactions specifically designated by EY, the special committee did not disagree with any of the company's revenue recognition conclusion for any quarter during this period. So great news there that there was no badness in revenue recognition for the fiscal year of 2024. Also, based on its investigation, the special committee did not disagree with the company's revenue recognition conclusion. Additionally, the special committee did not find any evidence of a pattern or practice of the company shipping incomplete products at or near quarter ends to recognize revenue. So one of the things was, hey, look, this company was just sending unfinished products so they can recognize that revenue before the quarter ended. Based on this, it doesn't seem like that's the case. So overall, everything is looking pretty strong. Now, if talking about those export control matters, especially those kind of going into countries where they're not supposed to, and it's not like Supermicro ends up seeing a customer ordering for Russia. That's not how things like this usually happen. What ends up happening is there might be some company that is startup in a country that you can ship to. So for example, let's say it was Canada, just random example. So Supermicro, hey, look, this country is from Canada. Let me ship them to them because I can ship to Canada. What ends up happening is that company in Canada is usually just like a stand-up, and they end up shipping those products to those illegal countries like Russia, like China. Now, the company themselves, like Supermicros, needs to have some form of intensive background check in the company to make sure that they are viable, that it's not just some pop-up company off the bat, right? I used to work for General Dynamics and companies that deal with a lot of kind of export restrictions, and that used to be very, very standard practice. The special committee did not see any evidence suggesting that anyone at the company tried to circumvent export control regulations or restrictions, or that anyone at the company was aware that any of its products might be diverted to a prohibited end user or location. Based on its review, the special committee concluded it appears the company has implemented a reasonable program for compliance with applicable export control regulations. So no issues there. Now, the committee did give a lot of recommendations, and these recommendations I think are very strong and definitely kind of create a sentiment of safeness for investors. So the first thing is they do believe they need a new CFO, and as soon as possible. So right now, the current CFO is actually gonna step away once they find a replacement. But the main reason is they just need new blood, and the company's kind of growing at some rapid levels. So the new CFO has to be a senior finance professional that has experience working at large public companies. Next, to make sure that there's a nice amount of standard and oversight in accounting practices, they want to appoint a new chief accounting officer. They also want to appoint a chief compliance officer that's going to be making sure that, hey, look, there's guardrails with things like rehiring new employees, and with making sure that the company is not doing anything shady in forms of how the business runs. So that's also another great appointee. They also want to appoint a general counsel and expand the legal department, because with the company growing, obviously you're going to have a lot more legal issues. They want to improve training and guardrail monitoring, and improve training and guardrail review as well. Now, the company, Supermicro, has adopted all these special committee recommendations. They are either looking for hires or have already made those hires or made those advancements of where the committee is going place. And as announced, they believe that they will have everything in order, and they do not anticipate any restatements of its quarterly reports for the fiscal year 2024 ended in June 30, or for prior fiscal years as well. And it also believes that it will be in compliant for this year as well. So overall, Supermicro investors, in my opinion, definitely have a lot to be bullish on. Obviously, the stock is up over 100% from its lows about a month ago, but I believe there was just so much uncertainty that this stock definitely took a huge hit. And now, right now, the market is trying to reassess, hey, look, how much is known and how much this is great for the company. So, I mean, Supermicro is sitting at $39, where year to date, the stock was over 100. I believe there's opportunity for growth, especially if everything from here is as intact. Again, I want to say right now, you have a lot of the uncertainties pushed out. And that's why you kind of gave out some of the gains already, but at least now you are a little bit more sure and certain of what's to come. Personally, I'm not buying Supermicro, but I can definitely see the excitement right now. So take care, have a good day, and see you next time.